If you need a mortgage, get in contact with REC. And I am on today with Monica Carson, and we're going to talk about the American college education and how teachers can get certified and get their degrees and, really plus up things. Because in America right now, we're struggling for teachers, but also teachers are looking for new people, are looking for new opportunities like veterans and people that want to change careers. And teaching is always an option, and it's a great option for a lot of people. And Monica, how are you doing?
I am fantastic, Vince. How are you today?
Oh, good. Considering early 4th to you.
Right. Happy 4th to you and to all the viewers and listeners as well.
Oh, yeah, and it's great to have you on because, it's a hot topic with the Department of Education in the news. It's a hot topic right here in Tampa right now. Even if everybody's following Florida, there's a lot of discussions on education. And the key thing about it is, people are worried about the cost of education. People are concerned about, making sure that the degree now that they get helps them, be able to make money and currency to be able to make a livable wage. And so they're looking at upping the pay for teachers here in Florida and around the country, which is great. So, you're one of those avenues to help people get a new career. So could you tell us a little bit about yourself? And then we'll go into about the American College of Education.
Yeah, I'd love to, Vince. So I'm Monica Carson, and I serve as the Chief Growth Officer here at American College of Education. I've actually been in higher education my entire career, started right out of college, and have been able to really be able to see the impact from a higher education perspective that it's had across the U.S. and internationally over the course of my career. The last 10 years. And American College of Education was actually founded by a group of educators that came together and really had three core tenets of what they were trying to do. One, provide a high quality education to educators. Two, provide an education that could fit into an educator's and or teacher's budget. And three, provide an education that was accessible. So we are fully online. So that means that our learners do not have to go to a traditional campus. Rather, they can do all of their studies via the computer and can really fit it into someone's day-to-day life and schedule. So being an institution that was founded by teachers for teachers, the premise is really not only to support those that are currently in and practicing as an educator, but continuing to influence the demand and need for more educators coming to the profession.
All right. So when you talk about, coming into profession, you always got to look at pathways. And I'm writing a book right now. And one chapter I am writing about is the progression of people in the world not being able to see their future for the organization they work for. And I taught school for several years. And one of the things I realized was a lot of teachers didn't understand the path from the classroom to administration. And so how are you guys helping people shape that so they don't understand they just come in for education, but at some point they may want to make that transition to the executive level?
Yeah, that's a fascinating question, Vincent. I think one that we've been at American College of Education, we've been very intentional about. And so, we've really approached our degree offerings to look at the entire journey of an educator, right? So if we think about those individuals that are coming to us and wanting to enter in the profession, but maybe don't have their bachelor's degree yet, we just recently designed a bachelor's degree in educational studies to support those individuals. So think about certified professionals that are in the education community, or those that are currently a business professional and want to get into the education community. We've designed a bachelor's degree to support those individuals. You obviously have the individuals that want to become the certified teacher. And so we have what we call our transition to teaching and or our Masters of Arts in Teaching program that's designed to lead to licensure for those individuals that want to become a certified educator. But more importantly to the question, in regards to those that are thinking about currently practicing in the field, but what's my next step? Right. We've been very intentional about making sure that we have programs that either can help that teacher who wants to remain in the classroom, but just become a master of their practice, to help them evolve as a teacher leader. We've designed a program specifically for that. We have master's level programs in STEM education, literacy. I can go on and on. We have over 60 programs, right? But we're thinking about the educator in mind. And so we've designed not only programs to help support someone who wants to progress and continue to refine their skills as teaching, But then we have a master's degree in educational leadership that's designed for those that want to step into the leadership role as a principal. Or we have our doctoral in educational leadership, which would be designed for someone that has the aspiration to become a superintendent or sit in a seat in the superintendent's office. We've designed those programs. Again, if you think about that life cycle and trajectory of an educator, we have something from the starting point at the entry level all the way up to superintendent level that our degree programs are designed to follow the journey of an educator.
No, that's great content and that's great information. So, you're talking about working class people that are transitioning or people that are coming to the second career because they were house dads or house moms. And I have to say that because it's both elements today in today's society.
Yes,
I got to keep it politically correct, keep my PC going here. But, we got to talk about the challenges of the rigor, when you talk about people that are transitioning back into the classroom or teachers that are carrying a heavy load, like you're an A-push teacher, but you need to get your master's, or you're AP economics teacher. What is the rigor like with your institution?
Yeah, that's another fantastic question, Vince. And that's something too that when the college was founded almost 20 years ago, we'll celebrate our 20-year anniversary in 2025. Was the design of the rigor in the curriculum so that it could fit into someone's life, right?
Yes.
And so the way that our courses are structured is that our learners, depending upon what level, but at the bachelor's and master's level, our courses are designed so that the learner takes one class at a time basically every 5 weeks. So it's a 5-week class, and then they get a week off in between. So they can really hone in on the specific subject and content area that they're focused on within those 5 weeks. So we've built it with not only the design of one class at a time, but then within the courses too. The one thing that I would say our learners will find is that there's consistency in regards to expectations. Right. So when are discussion questions due? When are assignments due? There's consistency built in. So then that allows the learner to really look at their day-to-day life and find a way to weave it in. So for example, we have some learners that, focus on doing a majority of their work in the AMs, right? They have their planning period if they're currently an educator, or it's someone who's in the business profession. And so they get to the office a little bit early to get their homework done. It's an asynchronous learning environment. So that means that it gives the learner a lot more flexibility to weave it into their day-to-day schedule. And so I think from the intentional design of how we've come at it, we've really tried to keep in mind that there are working adults that are primarily enrolling into our programs. And so creating a standardized structure really influences the success of our learners as they progress through.
All right. So that helps with the learning progression, and it also is nested with their lifestyle, which is a really great thing. Literally graduate high school and then get into your program.
So we kind of sit a little bit post high school graduation. We have means and mechanisms to help learners navigate that transition, especially if they're not looking to go to the traditional brick and mortar setting.
Right.
The way our content and our programs are designed are really considered degree completion. So we're really targeting those that have some credit that haven't then completed their bachelor's degree. So think about someone that has an associate's degree. Our programs are designed really more so for them, but I would say to your listeners too that we have alternative options though for folks that are thinking about getting into college but don't want to go to the traditional brick and mortar. We've partnered with organizations and community colleges to be able to help navigate that, so then ultimately they can get to the end goal of a bachelor's completion. So I would say our target market is definitely more so those that are that have some credit, but we can support learners kind of across the entire journey, if that makes sense.
And you're saying a great thing about online learning and, in the American College of Education, ACE. And what I like is, when you talk about most people, what I get really tired of is the argument over accreditation, So as you guys could you touch on that? Because to me, you have to say, hey, the school's a great opportunity, and then, with some educators, you get into this discussion about accreditation, which for me, it's here, there, in a box of Cracker Jacks, as long as the school's accredited and has it. So what kind of process rigor you guys go through on your accreditation?
Yeah, that's another great question, and something that I think all learners need to be very mindful of. So we are a regionally accredited institution. We're regionally accredited through the Higher Learning Commission. That is actually the highest level of accreditation that any college and or institution can hold. And so we go through a 10-year reaccreditation process.
Wow.
We're actually going through that process this year. And so there's a very intensive process that any accreditor, quite frankly, has institutions go through. But we, sit in a very high regard with our accreditor, and so we follow that process. And so every 10 years we get reaccredited.
So what is your right now, what's the population that you have at the university right now? What do you guys look at for a population size?
Yeah, that's another great question. So we just, we're very proud to say we just crossed over the 11,000 active student mark.
Wow.
And of which, that I would say 85+% of that 11,000 are going to be individuals who are, practicing or want to become educators, right? So a large population of our student body is currently practicing in the field of teaching. We have over 45,000 alumni. And so if you just think about our reach that we've had over the last 20 years, we're knocking on the door of almost 60,000 learners that we've been able to successfully impact.
Go ahead.
Oh, no, you go ahead, Vince.
Well, how do you brought up alumni, but I didn't want to cut you off because I was going to ask, like for many schools, how do you guys support your alumni after they graduate? Because what I'm finding now is that that's kind of a critical thing because they give back to the institutions that they went to most of the time.
Yeah. So we're a little bit different in that, we don't ask our alumni for the give backs in respect to monetary donations. Rather, what we do is we approach it really two ways. One, we've created an alumni community. And so we've established resources that we can extend out to our alumni, whether it be through additional tuition grants if they choose to come back to ACE, to discounts on continuing education, to resources, specifically for educators, to also hosting events in local communities because we're fully virtual, right? And so we don't have that traditional brick and mortar campus. And so we've been hosting events in Florida. We were just recently in Florida earlier this year, but where we've got large pockets of alumni, we tend to try and have small events so that they can network with one another and build a different type of relationship because they're building their relationships completely virtually as their students, that they get to kind of see each other in person.
Let's touch on the one thing that is all concerned to everyone is always the economic structure to be able to finance and be able to get their education. So how are you guys structured for that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think, one of the things that we really hang our hat on in regards to that kind of core tenets that we were founded on is affordability, right? So the institution itself was founded, as I mentioned earlier, with the premise that the goal was that the learner could fit it into their budget. And so one thing that, and one stat that I would say we're extremely proud of and tend to share it and sing it from the rooftops is that 85% of our learners, so think about that 11,000 or that 45,000 plus alumni, come out with no debt.
Wow.
That means that, if you, as you know, right, we're hearing the trillions of dollars of debt that are out there from a student loan perspective. We are very proud to say that, 85% of our learners come out with no debt. And the other 15%, we're providing them with alternative options to fund their education. And most of those options are allowing them to pay a portion of their schooling as they go. So even when they are coming out with some debt, it's limited in comparison to the hundreds of thousands of dollars that some are incurring from a student loan debt perspective. And I think one of the ways that we've been able to do this, so if you think about our price point, our master's degree programs are priced just under $10,000. Our bachelor's degree programs range anywhere from $10,000 to $12,000, and then our doctoral degree program is just under $25,000. A few things influence that. One, we have opted to not participate in federal financial aid. And so as part of that, while we don't offer federal financial aid, we do offer different means through third-party tuition resources for learners to be able to support their funding sources. But in addition to, because of our structure, being that you're taking one class at a time every 5 weeks, majority of our learners, that's that 85%, are paying as they go. So if you think about an average cost of a class, it's roughly, let's just say $800 to $900. they're building that into their budget so that they're just paying as they go. That to the point where they come to completion, their degree program's paid for and they have no out of pocket. And in a lot of instances for our educators that we're supporting, they're automatically getting a bump in pay. So their return on their investment, they're seeing almost instantaneously because of the way that education is structured. As you further your education, you can continue to move up in the pay scale. They're almost seeing an immediate return on their investment.
Oh yeah, and what about like scholarships? Now scholarships, you guys, if people get scholarships, it's they're allowed to, because some, like in Florida, they give scholarships to some educators, or they'll pay for the educator to go get their degree. So is that fun? Because that's not federal funding. Yeah,
that's not federal funding, and we actually do a lot of work specifically in the state of Florida, but across the United States, we do a lot of work directly with school districts. So that we can put one discounting program in place, but more importantly, and really within the last couple of years, we've been entering into strategic relationships with school districts to create direct agreements so that if the district is investing in their employees, they can work with us directly to cover the cost of tuition. In addition to, obviously, we have some alternative scholarships that are available through ACE. But then also, I always encourage learners to explore all options from a scholarship perspective, because there's hundreds of scholarships out there that people can take advantage of.
Man, there's trillions of dollars are left on the table every year. Man, when my daughter was getting ready to go to school, I started finding all these scholarships. I'm like, man, what the heck were all these scholarships when I went to school?
Right. I know.
Marketing, but you got a lot of people attending. So is it word of mouth? Or is it, your marketing prep?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think another contributor into our ability to keep our costs so low is because it's over 50% now of our learners that come to us come via a referral. So I think that speaks to that, right? That speaks to the quality of our program. In regards to, over 50% that come in are identifying that they've heard about us either through a colleague or through their school district or a friend, family member, whatever it may be. And so I think that speaks to, our learners are coming out well prepared, but more importantly, they're coming out willing to advocate for our program and promote our program. Secondarily, I think the other way that we, continue to expand our reach and grow the institution is really strategically. We go, to conferences and build relationships at conferences. But then more importantly, building relationships with school districts. So you mentioned Florida earlier. We've partnered with every public school system in the state of Florida to be able to award a small tuition grant for those school districts. And so we will go into districts and host small events to share information, not only in Florida, but across the US. In addition to, obviously, we do some recruitment internationally as well. But a lot of it comes through our reputation. And our graduation rates are well over 85%. And so again, all of our scores and everything we do kind of speak to how we are setting our learners up for success. And everything that we do is our North Star is the student.
That's right.
So everything that we're doing was with the student top of mind.
Okay, and so let's talk real quick before we get out of here on like professors. So, and the only reason I'm bringing that up is if there's people out here listening in the audience and they're thinking about becoming a team member for your institution, how do they reach out to you guys if they've already got their doctorate or their master's degree and they want to be an adjunct or something and become part of the, the solution to the education gaps that we have now with learners? How do they do that?
So if we have individuals who have doctoral degree programs, if you go to www.ace.edu and go to our careers page under about, you'll be able to find all of our current adjunct faculty postings. And one thing I will say is the thing that I think also speaks to the success of the institution and our learners has been that, the majority of our faculty members are practitioners. Right. Wow. And so they're still in some way, shape, or form in the field of education, whether it be in administration, whether it be in consultative roles, whether it be that they're still teaching in the classroom. Right. And so I think that also speaks to the quality of the education is because of the fact that our faculty are primarily practitioners. And so if there's interest out there, yes, go to about and the careers page and you can see all of our open adjunct faculty positions. With our growth, obviously, we're consistently hiring new faculty members as well. And the other thing that I would call out too is, while we spent today talking primarily about the field of education, we also offer degree programs in healthcare, nursing, and business as well. So if you've got, if your viewership or your listeners are in the field of healthcare, nursing, and or thinking about getting an MBA or an MSOL, we have a few complementary programs as well that I would just call out in support of the college too.
All right, so I'm gonna throw you on the spot real quick. So when someone's trying to make a decision, if you had to give them your nuggets of why ACE is such a great place to come, what would you say, Monica?
So I would say 3 things. ACE is great because our high quality, accessibility, and affordability when it's all said and done. And I would also say to your viewership too, that if you're thinking about it, take the next step and at least have that first conversation with a counselor so you can learn more. And we can, we at ACE, or obviously other higher education institutions, but for ACE specifically, we really take that, we take the approach of, like I mentioned earlier, student first. And so we have a team of enrollment counselors that are dedicated to helping our learners, prospective learners, navigate higher education, navigate their options. And ultimately our goal is to set our learners up for success. And so that's in support of obviously career goals and aspirations. And so I would just tell your viewership to take that next step and request information and speak to an enrollment counselor because we're here to guide you through the process.
All right, and so before I say goodbye to you, do you guys have a mascot?
We kind of do. I don't know if you can see behind me here, but you can see our little torch, our flame. It's not an official mascot, but we've coined the term Torchy.
Torchy.
And so I would say internally we've got Torchy, being an online institution. So yeah, we've got Torchy. He hangs out no matter where we are.
I love it. Monica, it's been great having you on today. And, if you have give any advice to any young people or any teachers out there struggling, trying to make a decision, what would be your last words to give advice?
My last words would be, ask a lot of questions. Don't be afraid to ask, because you've got people out there that are here to advocate and support you. Just involve yourself and ask those questions. And there's individuals here that can guide you through the next steps.
Oh, awesome. And it's great having you on today. Hey, this is Vince Buggs down at Tampa studio, at the RAC studio. And if you're looking for a home mortgage, just get in contact with RAC and they'll take care of you, because right now everybody's getting mortgages because houses are being built. So get your mortgage. And with that being said, keep it rolling.